Good late in the evening, everybody. Steven Ruderman here with your Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants post-game show. Make it 4 in a row. After a humiliating 8-3 loss to the Reds, Tyler Mahle couldn't throw strikes and was completely lit up. 4 innings, 8 hits, 8 runs, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts for Tyler Mahle, who he did have his solid outing against the Phillies last Wednesday, but he also had his bad performance against the Mets on April the 3rd, and he just gets absolutely lit up tonight. Just an absolutely abysmal performance by Tyler Mahle. So the Giants were up against Rhett Lauder. They go down 1-2-3 in the top of the first inning. Bottom of the first, TJ Friedl, base hit, wild pitch, Friedl to second, walk to Matt McLain. He does strike out the always dangerous Ellie De La Cruz looking, and then Sal Stewart, he hit a home run last night. He hits a home run to right tonight. Eugenio Suarez comes up. He hits an opposite field home run. It's quit very quickly, 4-0 Cincinnati. And actually, interesting thing, last night when the wind was blowing out at Great American Small Park, we had 3 solo home runs and a 2-1 final score. Tonight, with the wind blowing in, the ball was carrying a lot more than it was a much warmer night at Great American Ballpark. That definitely affected it, and it is when the weather's warm there that Great American Ballpark becomes Great American Small Park. So it's 4-0. Giants are already down in a hole. To my pleasant surprise, the Giants showed some life in the top of the second inning. Now, wasn't pretty, and I said Rafael Devers is going to strike out all over himself, which he did, and then spiked his bat to the ground with his right hand, and then pulled the knob off. It just broke it in two. So, 1 out. We're going to have a quick 1-2-3 inning. No! Matt Chapman lines a base hit to center. Jung-Hoo Lee walks. The on fire, not even white hot, not just white hot, the on fire Daniel Susac lines a double down the left field line, knocks in a pair. Holy shit, it's 4-2. Will Brennan called up and right. I forgot the moves prior to the game. Harrison Bader and Jared Oliva are both on the injured list. And Will Brennan, who had a very sneaky good spring, really liked what I saw from him when I was down in Arizona. So did Sam Lubman. And Drew Gilbert, who I think should have gotten a little more seasoning, but they're up. And Brennan grounds out, which gets Susac over to third, then Gilbert with a little check swing ground out off the end of the bat to third. And it's 4-2. So at least the Giants, they cut the deficit in half, but it gets worse for Mahle in the bottom of the second, walking Brian Hayes. TJ Friedl sacrifices him over to second. McLain walks. Ellie De La Cruz walks. Oh, yeah, I forgot. They picked off Brian Hayes at second. Can't believe I forgot about that. Which really indicated some momentum on the side of the Giants. So 2 outs, but then a walk to McLain, a walk to De La Cruz, and then Sal Stewart hits another home run, right center field, and it's 7-2, and that was pretty much the ball game at that point. The Giants did have a rally going against Lauder in the top of the 7th. They were able to get a run out of it, and what helped was back-to-back 2-out base hits, back-to-back 2-out opposite field base hits by pinch hitters Elliot Ramos and Gerard Encarnacion. And then Willie Adames can't make the 2-strike adjustment. He strikes out all over himself, and that would be it. The Giants would lose 8-3. And oh, right, Ellie De La Cruz hit a bomb in the bottom of the 4th inning. So the Giants have their 4th straight loss, 8-3 the final. They are now 6-12 on the year. That's .333 baseball. They are on pace to go 54-108. Now, are they going to go 54-108? I highly doubt it. And it's just a really tough and embarrassing loss for the Giants. At least they made some moves, albeit it was because 2 guys went on the injured list. But they've really got to do a lot more. They really need to call up Jesus Rodriguez. I mean, I don't get what Christian Koss is doing on this team. If they're not even going to play Koss, just send him the fuck down. And of course, I mean, we saw JT Brubaker go 2 innings tonight, but yeah, he still needs to go, and so does Ryan Baruki. And I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face, or better yet, I'll keep saying it until Buster does it, which is they need to call up Tristan Beck and Spencer Bivens. So just a humiliating, embarrassing loss for the Giants. And Willie Adames had finally been swinging the bat better, but tonight he goes 0 for 4 with a big fat golden sombrero. Despite Devers' strikeout in the second inning, he went 2 for 4 tonight. He's starting to swing the bat a little bit better, I guess. Matt Chapman 1 for 4. Lee went 1 for 3 after a 2 for 4 night last night. Daniel Susac 2 for 4 tonight. Brennan and Gilbert go 0 for 2 in their 2026 debuts. And the thing is with Gilbert, I think Gilbert is going to be a big part of this team, but he needs more seasoning, and I don't get why they didn't call Jesus Rodriguez up. And of course, Patrick Bailey did not get the start tonight. He'll get the start tomorrow. And, you know, Patrick Bailey is great defensively, but if for whatever reason his defense were to start to slip, then at that point I'd DFA him. But Jesus Rodriguez is the kind of guy who I wouldn't have catch. It's going to ruin his legs. Send down Koss, send down Encarnacion, call up Jesus Rodriguez. Buster, what the hell are we waiting for? So tomorrow, Landon Roop is going to have to be the starter. It's going to have to be the stopper. It's going to be a 9:40 in the morning first pitch. Chase Burns will be going for the Redlegs. And look, I get it. There's not really such thing as a must-win game in the middle of April, but they really do need to win the game tomorrow. The good news is they go to Washington for 3 against the rebuilding Nationals. But, well, the Dodgers come in for 3 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And with the 6-12 record, with how bad the Giants pitching is, with how stagnant the Giants offense is, this Dodgers series scares the ever-living hell out of me. So you know how I mentioned last night that the Giants were dead last in home runs and walks and stolen bases? I can't believe I also forgot to leave out that they're also dead last in runs. They have scored 55 runs. The Giants are also tied for the worst record in baseball at 6-12 with the White Sox, who lost 121 games in 2024, and the Rockies, who lost 119 games last year. This is who the Giants are down in the cellar with right now. Utterly unacceptable. And as I've said it, I'm going to keep repeating it so people get it. They're rebuilding. Buster made that decision when they collapsed last July and when he decided to trade away Camille Duvall and Tyler Rogers, which were both the right moves at the time and the right moves overall. He is at least trying to compete while he's rebuilding, which is what all teams should do, but sadly most teams don't. But unfortunately, he's done a very shitty job at trying to compete in the long run. When the best you can do on the pitching side in terms of free agent signings are Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser, that's a shitty job. Especially that you had other guys out there on the market who were perfectly good pitchers. And now the Giants are paying the price for Buster's lack of urgency on the pitching market. You have Tyler Mahle as your third starter, Adrian Hauser as your fourth, or actually no, as your fifth. Landon Roop's the fourth starter. Landon Roop, as I said, he's going to have to be the stopper tomorrow, and he's off to a decent start. 3-1 with a 3.24 ERA, but against a really good and hot Reds team at Great American Small Park, I just have a bad feeling that tomorrow is going to be a sweep, and then they're going to basically have to sweep the Nationals. And as I mentioned, with the Dodgers coming in, so if we lose tomorrow, we're 6-13. And with how this team's playing, I can see them losing 2 or 3 to the Nationals. 7-15. Then the Dodgers come in to Dodger Stadium North with sections 143 and 144 out beyond Triples Alley and right center being the visitors section, and obliterate the Giants in an easy 3-game sweep. And guess what? The Giants are 7-18. There is a real danger of this happening if the Giants don't get their shit together right now. Buster, again, call up Jesus Rodriguez. What are we waiting for? Get rid of Baruki and Brubaker. Call up Beck and Bivens. Buster, what are we waiting for? And again, if you're not even going to play Christian Koss, why the hell is he even on this team? And yeah, I am pissed off. This team has too much talent to be playing shit baseball like this. They have too much talent to lose 90 to 95 games, which is very much in the realm of possibility if they don't get their shit together. And, you think about where the Giants stand. Over the course of the last 2.5 years, they have fired 2 managers and a president of baseball operations, which translates to a person of significance getting fired at the end of each of the last 3 seasons. Gabe Kapler in 2023, Farhan in 2024, and Bob Melvin last year. So 3 straight end of the season firings of significant figures, and it's the same old mediocre baseball, and this year it's even worse. At what point do we not start looking higher than the manager and the president of baseball operations to ownership? Larry Baer doesn't have the power he once had. Greg Johnson's now the guy running the team, but we don't see and hear from him much. So I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what his philosophy is for the organization, but this ownership group has owned this team for 33 years. I think it's time for a change. And I feel like as long as this current ownership group is in place, I just can't see things getting that much better. This ownership group, particularly Larry Baer, has done a lot for this team. Started by helping save the team from moving to Tampa back in 1992. Building this beautiful, beautiful ballpark. Of course, Bill Newcomb gets credit for the 3 championships, not Larry Baer. But it's time for this ownership group to sell the team. And if it'll make Larry happen, we can give him some ceremonial front office role under the next ownership group. Gotta coddle Larry's ego a little bit. Kyle Foster's here and says, the softball team I saw scored 14 runs today. They might even beat the Giants at this point. And speaking of the firings, let's talk about the most recent firing, of course, that is Bob Melvin. I was talking about last night, Bruce McGowan has pointed this out ad nauseum, the lack of leadership on this team. I have no problem with Chapman yelling at Casey Schmidt on the mound in San Diego to catch the ball. I have no problem with that at all. But Chapman, who really was a leader the last 2 years, other than on the mound in San Diego, hasn't really bothered to step up as a leader. And that gets me to this point. Matt Chapman was a Melvin loyalist. He and Elliot Ramos both loved Bob Melvin. In fact, I suspect that one of the key reasons Chapman signed with the Giants 2 years ago was because of Bob Melvin. And I just can't help but think he's unhappy with Melvin gone. And look, I feel awful for Bob Bob did his best, but he's not the manager he once was. He's like Bochy in the late 2010s. He needs a break, and it just wasn't working out. He had to go. But it was because of that that I wanted the Giants to trade Matt Chapman and Elliot Ramos over the offseason. Ramos, of course, has been off to a really rough start. And I just can't help but think they're not, Chapman's not happy. I can't help but think that Chapman's not happy with Melvin being gone, and that Ramos is struggling without the guy who really got the best out of him. Of course, we saw Ramos get brief cups of coffee in 2022 and 2023 under Gabe Kapler, and it was very uneventful. They were both very uneventful. 2024, Bob Melvin finally gets the best out of him, and he goes all the way to the All-Star game. By the way, I also want to congratulate Elliot Ramos. This is his 5th year on the Giants, and with the fact that he was in the All-Star game in 2024, he has officially gotten his spot on the Wall of Fame. Of course, the 3 requirements are 9 years, 5 years plus an All-Star appearance, or being on 3 championships. Anyway, 2009, when the Giants got off to a brutal 2-7 start, taught me that April, for the most part, doesn't mean shit. The Giants went on to go 88-74 that year, but with how bad this pitching is and with how tense this team is playing, and with how hard the schedule is through May 14th when they go to LA, we're at serious risk of this season going south in a heartbeat. And as I've mentioned, losing 90 to 95 games is definitely in the realm of possibility. It sucks that this team is playing the way they are, because they are so much better. They're so much better than this. They have the potential to play well. 6-156 incoming. Oh man, that would suck. This team has got to fix it. And at this point, I think being 19-25 after the May 14th finale in Los Angeles, that's going to be a miracle at this point. So, we got to hope that Landon Root can go get him tomorrow. I want to talk about something, because this is something that started off as something very special, but has since become very fake and phony. And that, of course, I'm talking about are the players wearing number 42 every year for Jackie Robinson. Ken Griffey Jr. started it in 2007, where certain guys would do it in 2007 and 2008, and then in 2009, it became a league-wide thing, and unfortunately, basically turned into this farce where we do it every year. We talk about how great Jackie Robinson was, and say nothing about the lack of African Americans playing in the game today. If you look at most of the American-born players, they were mostly born in wealthy white suburbs, because of the fact that it is, with equipment, with training, with travel ball, it has become extremely and outrageously expensive to play this game. And the classism that dominates baseball today, which it very much does, is up there, or shall I say down there, with the racism that plagued our great game prior to 1947. It's a great injustice. And for anyone, first of all, equipment is extremely expensive. When it comes to basketball, you can just get a basketball and find a hoop in any neighborhood throughout the country, even the worst areas of the country. Football, even though you technically need pads and a helmet, if you have a ball, you can easily learn to, it's not easy to throw a football, and I know I certainly can't because I have the yips. But if you have a football, you can learn to play football. With baseball, you need a ball, you need a glove, you need a bat. You oftentimes are going to need well more than one baseball. And with travel ball and with the training sessions, many of the trainers are actually con men. I'm talking people like Richard Schenck. And so Richard Schenck is a con man who teaches guys this, what they call the high level Anyway, I don't want to deviate. My point being is that kids who grow up in less fortunate areas, black kids in inner cities, rural white kids, they don't have the access. So even if they're able to get their hands on equipment, and even if they're talented, they don't have access to travel ball. They don't have access to the training. And some of the training is good. You know, that there are trainers out there who actually teach the game the right way. It's hard to find, unfortunately, but there are who do it. And if you don't have access to that, then well, you're not going to be up to par with your wealthier white peers, and it's an injustice. And baseball and frankly professional sports in that matter have made very clear over the last 25 years that their targeted audience is rich people. Unfortunately, this is where we're at as a game, and I just want it to change. I want baseball to become more accessible to people of low income. I mean, Major League Baseball does its best with was it the RBI program? I know Jimmy Rollins was very instrumental in that, but they need to do a lot more. And what we need to do is find a way to get equipment, bats, gloves, balls, etc., to inner cities and other impoverished areas throughout the country, which unfortunately there are many of. You have, you got to get them the access to the training. But the thing is, too, we also overwork a lot of guys. I mean, with travel ball and whatnot, some travel ball is not bad. It's not bad to have kids play into the summer, especially since Little League and high school go to like early May at the very latest. But what you have to do here is make sure that poor kids can have the same opportunities, because we're not getting with the combination of the classism in the game and the inability um with the inability to have access to this stuff, and that combined with the fact that Rob Manfred screwed the pooch and gutted just a ton of minor league teams. um you're not getting the best players, and it's a shame. It's unfortunate, and we're basically getting the richest players who are able to afford to play the game. So I think there are ways that can that we can that we can fix this, that we can get equipment to kids in the inner cities. Maybe if we elect a socialist as president in 2.5 years, maybe that could do it. And as I said, I have no problem going back to travel ball. I have no problem with guys who are playing uh, in the summer of travel ball. It's when they're playing year round, and you're seeing guys, kids. You see travel ball. It's like 12 months a year. You have travel ball in December and January. Kyle says the problem stems from the fact that we don't have nearly enough multi-sports athletes at the high school level. Kyle, you cover high school sports in Napa for Napa Sports News, which subscriptions are available. Is that really the case? Really? Though I don't know if that's a big deal, because I mean, when you have to play like all sports, because you have a lot of people in high school who play, all sports, I feel like that would actually take a lot out of you, and that would be better for them to play once. But the problem is they have parents who think their 9-year-old's going to be the next Babe Ruth, which makes it a pain in the ass for unfortunate schmucks like me to umpire. Actually, this year the parents have been easier on me for the most part. I've had a few parents who've been a pain in the ass this year, but the parents have been somewhat easier this year. Kyle says no, but it's better to play more sports so that you're more well rounded. I stopped playing sports when I was 10 because, well, I sucked at it. So, Kyle, you're going to know more about this than I will. Unfortunately, you have a lot of kids who are as young as 12 getting Tommy John surgery, some of whom are deliberately trying to get Tommy John surgery because, well, get it out of the way, one, and two, they think they'll come back stronger from Tommy John surgery. Kyle says the girl that won my basketball player of the year, your basketball player of the year, played volleyball. Okay. But man, do I feel like Vinny this year? Am I angry? Am I not happy? I just have an eerie feeling, and I get it, it's early, but you got to start calling some guys up. And, Jesus Rodriguez could be a real spark. Some people want Eldridge up. Vinny, if you're still here, Vinny was telling me on the phone before I came on here that he wanted Eldridge up, but Zach Beyruta, he said it perfectly yesterday, or was it Monday on an interview with 95.7, my colleague and voice of the Sacramento Rivercats, that Bryce Eldridge, he's off to a great start, but the strikeouts are just sky high, and he needs to get those strikeouts down. And Yogi Berra said it, baseball is 90% mental and the other half physical. And if you call a player up too soon, it can wreck them. And as Zach said on the interview, the Giants want to call up Eldridge and never send him down again. It's going to suck to have to wait for Eldridge. He is going to provide a big spark when he comes up, but he needs another month and a half of seasoning. He's not ready yet. I even am a little hesitant about them calling up, or I'm very hesitant. I wanted them to call up Rodriguez, and I'm very nervous about them calling up Gilbert. I think Gilbert needs more seasoning. Because he's someone who is a great contact hitter. He can hit 300, doesn't strike out much, and I think could be a solid major league outfielder. But you don't want to call a guy up like that too early and have his development impacted. So hopefully, Rodriguez can come up soon, because I think that's the guy the Giants really need to call up. And of course, I've talked about Bivens and Tristan Beck, and hopefully Gilbert doesn't get affected by being called up now, and hopefully Eldridge will be ready to go at some point mid to late May. I'd like to thank Kyle Foster of Napa Sports News. For Kyle, I'm Steven Ruderman. Thanks for listening to my rants and musings tonight. Giants and Reds, Landon Roop, it's got to be the starter. First pitch at 9:40 for those of you morning people out there. I know I'm not. Have a good night, folks. I'll talk to you soon.